Jackie, my name is Joe Dewar. I'm a part of Marketing 334, Sales Management with Dr. Goad. My objective here today is kind of go over a video I just watched of you with your first sales call, so congratulations on completing that. It's a stressful event, I know, but you did a very good job, and I'd like to go over a couple of key things that you did well and some things that you could use some improvement on. So I'm here today to kind of go over those things for you, okay? So the first thing, let's just dive right into this. Your introduction was fantastic. You did a great job of entering in the room, stating the buyer's name, kind of like saying like, oh, it's great to see you again. We haven't talked in quite some time. Kind of reminding them that there was an existing relationship that has already been built, and you're here to establish, to kind of build it up and establish it further. So you did a very good job of that in keeping small talk, so I want to pride yourself on that. Your tone throughout the entire, I guess you could say, interview or sales call was very, very appropriate. You were not too loud, nor were you too soft. You kept right on pace and kept the buyer engaged, which we'll go into detail a little bit later. Your transitions to the agenda was very, very appropriate. You did a good job of kind of stating what was going to happen after you built your report, after you kind of let the buyer know why you're there and who you are and how long you've been with the company and such. You did a great job of kind of transitioning and letting the buyer know of what they're about to expect. So let's go over your adapt sequence. I thought it was a very good job. Your assessment questions were very superb. You did a great job of kind of explaining, not only why are you here, but kind of getting detail about just generalized questions on who's your current supplier and asking open-ended questions. Your discovery questions were also very appropriate. You did also a really great job later throughout the adapt sequence about asking activation and projecting questions. Once you uncovered that there was a problem with I believe it was Adidas, the current supplier of the athletic program here, you did a good job of kind of explaining and kind of dropping subtle hints about how Nike can fulfill those needs, which you'll eventually do that later in later parts of your sales call. So I want to go ahead and pride yourself on that. And you had a great transition from moving towards your adapt sequence straight into the next one, into the next adapt sequence, which I believe you had 3. So those were very, very appropriate. You spent a lot of time on that, which should be the bulk of the presentation. You want to let your buyer know why you're here, and you also want to keep them engaged, which is one thing I also want to pride you on, that you did a great job of maintaining eye contact along the way of after each question you would ask a follow-up question after each response that they gave. So you kind of kept the conversation going on who's your current supplier. They would say Adidas, and you would say, oh, well, that's nice. And you would kind of just bounce around that question a little bit longer just to keep the buyer engaged, keep them calm, and keep the conversation moving, not in a scripted manner, but more of a professional and very well done manner. So great job on that. Now let's move towards your summary. I feel like it potentially was a little bit rushed. I know there was a time limit on these role plays, but you really want to allow yourself enough time, not spending too much time on the adapt sequence, but allow yourself enough time to go over key points of what exactly happened during this meeting and kind of how you can alleviate some of their stress for the next meeting, and also by setting up that next meeting as well. So it was potentially a little bit rushed, but we'll work on that, of course, in later parts of this role play that you'll be completing later. So like I said, your tone overall was very, very good, and you were very clear, and you did a really great job of that. So what I want to do now is I want to go over 2 key things that you did very well and 2 things that I feel that you could use some improvement on. First of all, the one thing that you did great, I've already stated, was your introduction. You did a very, very good job of, like I said, introducing yourself, explaining why you're here, building rapport, kind of just having casual conversation along the way. Right before you get started, you're kind of shooting the breeze, and it's really, really nice conversation that kind of keeps the ball rolling. So another one was your tone and your approach. Like I said, you did a great job of keeping tone, and make sure you follow up questions after each question you asked and after each response you were given. You did a good job of not only, it did not seem scripted at all, it just felt like a conversation, which that's how every sales call should be. You want to be kind of persuasive and have a little bit of swagger almost in your tone of voice whenever you deliver each question and receive each answer as well. You want to feel comfortable in who your audience is. So I think you did a very good job at those 2 things. 2 things I feel like you might need improvement on. The first one is your use of notes. I did see you looking down a little bit. It's almost like after every question you had, you did kind of go through and make some notes, which is great, but you don't want to rely too much on that because you're going to lose your buyer's interest. Another thing to bounce off of that, was matching his body language. Your buyer was very sitting straight up with his hands crossed versus you were kind of slouched in some ways, which is great to be casual, but you also want to maintain and match his body language. That way you guys aren't getting exactly off course. You're staying on the same page the entire time and maintaining that conversation. So that's the first thing I think you could potentially improve on. And the second one, like I said, was your closing. You definitely want to have enough time to allow yourself to close, explain why you were there and what you just went over, kind of a little bit of a recap of the 3 events that just kind of happened in your adapt sequence, your 3 adapts, and then once you have gone over exactly what just happened and you know, received appropriate feedback of what the supplier did and how you can alleviate those problems, then you want to set up a potential next meeting, which you did a good job of, but you want to make sure you allow yourself enough time to elaborate and not make it so rushed. So those are a couple of things that I think you did well and some things you need improvement on. I look forward to potentially seeing more of your videos and everything. I think you guys did a great job. Great job with Nike. It's a really great pick, so I wish you the best of luck, and I'll see you around. Thank you.